Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Hey there, Press Starters. Welcome back to another awesome edition of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing creating engaging video games, a beginner's guide to concepting and prototyping. Learn the basics of brainstorming, prototyping, and playtesting for successful video game design. Creating a video game can be a complex process, but it all starts with a simple idea. In this podcast, we'll explore the basic steps of video game concepting and prototyping, and provide examples to help illustrate these steps. Brainstorming game ideas. The first step in video game concepting is brainstorming game ideas. This involves coming up with a general theme or concept, and then generating more specific ideas that fit within that theme. For example, let's say you want to create a puzzle game. You might start by brainstorming ideas related to puzzles, such as word puzzles, number puzzles, or logic puzzles. From there, you could generate more specific ideas, such as a game where players have to solve math problems to progress, or a game where players have to match colors to progress. Another example is creating a first-person shooter game. You might brainstorm ideas related to first-person shooters, such as different weapons, settings, or enemies. From there, you could generate more specific ideas, such as a game set in a post-apocalyptic world where players have to fight off zombies, or a game set in outer space where players have to defend their spaceship from aliens. Refining your game idea. After brainstorming, you'll need to refine your game idea by thinking about its mechanics, setting, characters, and story. For example, let's say you've decided to create a game where players have to solve math problems to progress. You'll need to think about the mechanics of the game, such as how the math problems will be presented, how difficult they'll be, and how players will progress through the game. You'll also need to think about the setting of the game. Will it be set in a school or classrooms, or in a more fantastical setting like a castle or dungeon? You'll also need to think about the characters in the game. Will players be playing as a student trying to pass a math test, or as a wizard trying to solve math puzzles to save the world? Finally, you'll need to think about the story of the game. How will the math problems fit into the story, and what will be the ultimate goal of the game? Creating a GDD will help you organize your thoughts and ensure that you have a clear vision for your game. Creating a prototype. With a clear game idea and GDD, it's time to create a prototype. A prototype is a basic version of your game that lets you test out your mechanics and gameplay ideas. For example, let's say you've decided to create a game where players have to solve math problems to progress. You could use a prototyping tool like Construct or Game Maker Studio to create a simple version of your game where players are presented with math problems and have to choose the correct answers to progress. Another example is creating a first-person shooter game. You could use a game engine like Unity or Unreal Engine to create a basic version of the game where players can move around a level and shoot at targets. The key is to create a playable prototype as quickly as possible so that you can start testing your game mechanics and gameplay ideas. Playtesting your prototype. Once you have a playable prototype, it's time to start playtesting to get feedback on what works and what doesn't. Get feedback from a diverse group of players with different skill levels, ages, and backgrounds. For example, if you're creating a math puzzle game, you might want to get feedback from students of different ages and skill levels. Ask them specific questions about what they liked and didn't like about the game, and use this feedback to make changes and improvements to your prototype. If you're creating a first-person shooter game, You might want to get feedback from gamers with different levels of experience within the genre. Ask them specific questions about the controls, the level design, and the difficulty level. Use the feedback you receive during playtesting to make changes and iterate on your prototype. This might involve tweaking the game mechanics, adjusting the difficulty level, or improving the overall player experience. Iterating on your prototype. Based on the feedback you receive during playtesting, make changes and iterate on your prototype. Refine your game mechanics, adjust the difficulty level, and improve the player experience. For example, if you're creating a math puzzle game and players are finding the math problems too difficult, you might need to adjust the difficulty level or provide more guidance to help players solve the problems. If players find the game boring, you might need to add more variety or excitement to the gameplay. When you're creating a first-person shooter game and players are finding the controls difficult to use, you might need to adjust the control scheme or provide more tutorials to help players learn how to play. Players are finding the game too easy or too hard, you might need to adjust the difficulty level or provide more options for customization. Remember, the game design is an iterative process, and you may need to go through several rounds of playtesting and prototyping before you have a game that is fun, engaging, and well-balanced. Finalizing your game design. Once you have a polished prototype that you have been playtesting and iterating on, it's time to start finalizing your game design. This means fleshing out the story, creating detailed character designs, and refining the level designs. At this stage, it's also important to consider the technical aspects of game development, such as optimization and performance. You'll need to make sure that your game runs smoothly on a variety of platforms and devices. Marketing and launching your game. Once your game is complete, it's time to start thinking about how you'll market and launch it. This involves creating a marketing plan, building a community around your game, and working with distributors and retailers to get your game into the hands of players. One key aspect of marketing your game is creating a strong brand and visual identity. This includes things like creating a logo, designing a website, and creating promotional materials like trailers and screenshots. Final thoughts. Video game concepting and prototyping are essential steps in creating a video game. By brainstorming game ideas, refining your game concept, creating a prototype, playtesting and iterating, you can create a compelling and engaging game that players will love. Remember that the key to success is to start with a clear game idea and iterate on that through playtesting and prototyping. With dedication and hard work, anyone can create a great video game. Alright, and that's this week's episode of Press Start Leadership. Thanks for listening and being awesome. Oh, hi there. The episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. If you're on the quest to elevate your team's leadership, production, or game design capabilities, I'm here to assist. Leveraging extensive experience and a strategic approach, I offer personalized audits, bespoke workshops, and leadership retreat facilitation to drive your team toward excellence. My commitment is to provide efficient, reliable, and proven support, ensuring you have the tools and insights needed to thrive. Ready to unlock your team's full potential and achieve unparalleled success? Don't hesitate to press start on your journey to transformation today. Feel free to reach out directly to discuss how we can tailor a solution to meet your unique needs and goals. Let's connect and take your team's performance to the next level.